The spine-tingling spectacle of auto racing has become the sport of the 70s. A brilliant, big-budget kind of professional sport that has come very far and very fast, from an infancy at state fair dirt tracks in small Midwestern towns to the status of the world's top spectator sport. This is a look at three of the many faces of auto racing today. An examination of the men who race their exotic machines to triumph, sometimes to tragedy. Today, the fairgrounds dirt tracks are fading as motor racing moves into giant U stadiums. Brush of Grant Wood. And today, drivers like Mario Andretti, crewman Joe Granatelli, and driver Jim McElreath return to thrill the dirt that comes only in this place at this point in time. Here, rain has reduced the course to a slippery bog. Drivers like Bobby Unser and A.J. Foyt pitch in to help prepare the surface. This is one face of the booming sport of the 70s, and the wonders of the rural fair, especially for the young, are never ending. The original Disneyland of mid-America, and the auto race is the big event for young and old alike. The biggest stars in the sport, men like U.S. champion Mario Andretti, STP racing team's Andy Granatelli, provide the glamour. The exciting aura of cars and racing seems to be everywhere. The race is waved into its 100 miles of close-packed action on the track still mud-slicked by a summer rainstorm. And the crowds howl with delight as the little high-tailed racers with their knobby tires circle the track in the crabbing, broad-sliding motion that has endeared them to racing fans for more than half a century. These machines are fast being replaced by the sophisticated, low-slung rear-engine creations born on the Grand Prix circuits of Europe. But this continues to be an important part of the American racing scene. A new and separate dirt track championship has been formed, and so the delights of county fair racing seem destined to go on forever in rural America. An overheated engine produces one casualty. Steel or glass embedded in mud are tough on tires. Mario Andretti isn't immune for breakage on the rugged racetrack. Mechanical failures decimate the field, for it takes more than bravery and finesse to prevail in this demanding sport. So the day is lost for Mario and the STP racing team, but not without a valiant effort. In this high-speed sport, there's another race, hundreds of miles away, the very next day. This time in Milwaukee, larger and more city-fied crowds, and a mile-long banked asphalt racing surface. But the dangers, problems, and drama are unchanged. And the marvels of state fair farming exhibits offer a refreshing contrast to the wail of engines and the scream of tires. This time, the length of the race is doubled to 200 miles. Mario Andretti and Andy Granatelli will try again. battling the problems that beset the sport, where racing luck plays a major and ever-changing role. At Milwaukee, with more dash and higher speeds, we get a look at another face of this thriving sport of the 70s. The scene changes daily as racers travel along what they call the Championship Trail, a schedule of 18 major races at tracks both large and small scattered all across the nation. Andy Granatelli, with another race concluded and still no racing luck, takes off with key members of his STP racing team on a 2,000-mile flight to California. There, the world's biggest superspeedway awaits its baptism of speed. Despite the disappointments, there's time for laughter on the long overnight grind from Milwaukee to Ontario, California. Like a mirage shimmering in the desert, this $25 million speedway is the today of auto racing. Ontario is a 2.5-mile replica of the historic Indy track, and it quickly becomes obvious that the soaring Southern California temperatures will create problems for the racers. Racing engines always run hot, and there's no doubt that the best cooled racers will be the ones running out in front when the checkered flag signals the end of the first 500 miles of California. There are two ways to cool the engines on these racers. One is to run a rich fuel mixture. This uses large amounts of the methyl alcohol racing fuel mixture that would cause time-consuming stops for fuel. The second way is to add radiators, increasing the supply of cooling water to the engine. That penalizes the racer in terms of more frontal area to push around the racetrack. It translates to lost speed and horsepower, but only 3 pit stops. Andy Granatelli elects to take this risk. His crews mount the biggest radiators at the track. More than 400 square inches of radiator area mark in large nose cones on the STP team cars. Both entries, Mario's number 1 and George Follmer's car number 20, have all the radiator capacity they can carry. And special coolants, developed by STP technicians, are also added to provide a final element of cooling safety for the STP team drivers. These various maneuvers to assure dependable, cool-running engines, despite the soaring temperatures, are tested and retested during the long and frustrating hours of practice. A behind-the-scenes side of racing rarely seen by spectators. Now the drama of qualifying. There are places in this rich race for only 33 cars. Only those who achieve the fastest speeds will qualify. First driver to make his try is veteran Lloyd Ruby of Wichita Falls, Texas. A favorite of the fans, Rube takes full advantage of his early shot at the fast new track. He hurtles around the course for a 4-lap, 10-mile average of 177.567 miles an hour. His final lap fairly sizzles with a speed of 178.042 miles an hour. The track is so new that crowds sit silent, not knowing what to expect from the spectacle they are witnessing. Forecasts were for scorching speeds, but nobody predicted this kind of performance from Lloyd Ruby. U.S. champion Mario Andretti accepts the speed penalty imposed by his huge new radiator and qualifies in 8th position with an average of 174.199 miles an hour. His teammate, George Follmer, driving the STP Hawk, with which Mario won both the Indy 500 and the U.S. Championship last year, takes his first shot at qualifying. After one lap at over 171 miles an hour, Vollmer loses control and goes off course in a long looping spin. He comes back to qualify in 29th spot. There's one STP racing team car that arrives too late to qualify. A radical and brand new racing car just finished in Lingries, Germany. It must wait for another day to prove its mettle. It may be the car to watch when the 1971 season rolls around. The field, led by Lloyd Ruby, Dan Gurney, and Johnny Rutherford, lined up this way for the first 500 miles of California, and a purse that will total more than $750,000. The crowds in California vary from those at the State Fair tracks, just as the cars and the tracks are widely different. The bugaboo of soaring temperatures is on everyone's mind as the crewmen prepare their cars on race day. Here, the STP team makes wise use of dry ice to cool both the fuel supply tank as well as the saddle tanks on the team's racing cars. As the crewmen put final touches on their mechanical marvels, a new set of problems. Temperatures are down, but winds gust up to 40 miles an hour, and dust fills the air in the turns. Now, Tony Hulman, owner of famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway and one of racing's greatest figures, calls out,
"Gentlemen, start your engine."